So as I continue on with my work on shock tower braces, I wanted to give you a little idea of how I prepared these. I spent most of my childhood working in my dad's body shop, and one of the things he let me do is help prepare some of the cars for paint, and sanding them down, prepping them, and getting them ready for primer was my primary function there. So for these are metal, and if you touch the brand new metal things, they're been machined and pressed, and they're kind of oily, and you get an oily substance on your hands. It's good to have that all removed before you paint these. And you know, these are under the hood. They get a lot of temperature heat, and any of that kind of stuff can mess up your surface. So what I usually do is I'll take a little bit of light sandpaper. This is 320, and I'll hit them light. I'll give it a good rough sanding, and you be careful. Now this is just decorative, really doesn't really do much, but if you've got light, delicate trimming on here, sometimes you just want to be careful not to sand the texture down or for whatever purpose they had it. And once you hit it with some of that, you loosen up all that grime and give the primer a little place to stick. You can see it's a little bit of scuffed up there. You still see my fingerprints on there, so that's from all the oil still on there. So one of the things we used to use was a thing called Prep-Sol, and it was Prep-All. We used to call it Prep-Sol because it was spelled S-A-S-O-L. But basically, it's a grease and wax remover. It gets rid of all the grime on here. This we used to get in the big containers, and we'd pour it on rags and we'd wipe it down after we sanded down. Clean rag, clean shop rag, and you give it a spray. And when you're done, you shouldn't be able to see your fingerprints and stuff on there. And make sure you get all the edges where you're going to paint. I'm not going to paint the backside, so I'm not worried about that. That'll be face down. That'll be facing down towards the engine. I just want these to look good on the top. And I'm not building a contour show car here. Just wanted to take to local shows and eventually give it a little bit of a exercise on the track. And then the next step is I'll give this a shot of paint. I'm nothing fancy. This is my paint booth. I'll hang it up in there. Take it outside, hang it up there, and give it a spray after I get that one done. Well, actually, I think I'll do this next since I've got it cleaned already. That one's dry. That was done yesterday. I usually give them a day to dry. Here in Arizona heat, though, it doesn't matter. I also swapped up the primer a little bit. I used some Rust-Oleum primer, but I went ahead and purchased some of the automotive primer, and I'll be using that dark color since I'm going to paint them black rather than the gray, but I had to use up what I had, and this just came in yesterday, so I don't like to refine, but this is just Rust-Oleum automotive primer. It's rattle can, and you just hit it, spray it, and you're good. I'll bring this back and show it to you in a little bit. So here you're looking at the pre-primed one. Not pre-primed, already primed. A little bit of a run, oops, can't see it. A little bit of a run here and there, but I'll just knock that off with the 320. And I'm just going to dry sand. I'm not going to wet sand it. It's not we're not going for a outside showroom finish. I make sure I do a little heavier primer and a little heavier paint on here. I'll be just because that's where the bolts will be. I'm gonna have rubber washers on each end, so it'll be a rubber washer. I have a rubber washer on each end. There'll be a rubber washer on here, there, and then on the bottom, just so these don't rattle. The car makes enough noise as it is going down the road. I don't want to have to hear it rattle all the time. So quick little scuffing here. get these corners really good, or else there's a good chance of the paint sticking out. You can see the drips are, the runs are going to fade away here real quick. Remember, you don't want to take it all the way back down to the metal because then you just remove the coat. She gets in these edges really good. Knocked it a little bit there, but now I'm going to paint these black, and I want them to be a little bit glossy, and plus they're going to be underneath and right atop, underneath the hood, top of the engine, and they're going to get really, really warm. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use engine enamel for painting engines. I looked and I don't have any black, but this is the engine enamel. High temperature. I have it on the block now. That's what I spray painted the block with. And that's why I have the record, but I need the black. So I need to source some of that. I don't think they have it here locally, although I may have gotten this from one of the auto parts stores. Not really sure. Yeah, it's also chemical resistant because, you know, there's all kinds of stuff underneath that engine. So that's what I'm going to be doing, only in black. Let me bring in the other one. It's almost dry. I'll bring it in so you can take a look at that. It's my mobile paint booth. Light's not great, but it's all prime black. I put heavy coat on it. It'll get sanded again like this one, and then I'll prep it again, and then I'm gonna let that dry a little bit more before I prep this and give this another coat of paint. So more coming up.